Boom.
And we're live. Okay. Hello everybody. This is the 15th episode of Magnum Opi podcast with me as your host and not your dear the Albion. I will introduce this panel. How are you, Quackhouse? Singing as usual, I guess.
Hi. Yeah, I'm good, thanks.
And Freelance Bishop, how are you?
Guten Abend.
Guten Abend. Yeah, well, German. Yeah, well, it's kind of weird in the book we are discussing. Let me share the screen. Do androids dream of electric sheep? There's quite a German streak to it, or a lot of German is used, but I think we will get to it. So first, to the author, Philip Kindred Dick, funny surname. Do you have you guys read anything from him, or any experienced his works, or?
Only his film adaptations. I've never read any of his other stuff.
So I think he has a funnier middle name, to be honest.
Yeah,
Kindred.
Kindred.
It's,
That's
it's a
probably why
bit
he doesn't use it.
it's a bit what do you call it? Like in the 60s when kids were called Cloud and Moon and River.
Mm,
I think it goes with his shirt.
yeah, yeah, could be. So
What is that on his? Is that what's that on his shirt? Just is it
half
bananas?
moon, I guess. Sickles. I don't know. Bishop, you haven't read anything from him either, I guess.
No, I've seen this series, The Man in High Castle, which is
Yeah.
not like the what do you call it? Not it's a bit like the book, but based on it's like you see this more in TV adaptations, like most recent, like Foundation. It kind of follows the book, but it adds a lot of characters because otherwise the series would be really short.
Mm.
Another adaptation I've seen is fun. Is we can remember it wholesale, which has been turned into movie with the greatest actor ever, Arnold Schwarzenegger, called Total Recall. It has been remade actually, but nobody talks about that remake, as far as I
I
know.
think I prefer. I'm going to be controversial and say I think I prefer the remake.
Probably the remake is closer to the book, but yeah, I mean,
he did Scanner Darkly as well, didn't he? That was a good film.
mhm.
And Minority Reports.
Yeah,
Oh
that's
yeah.
a good one as well. He has
And
quite a few movie adaptations that
mm,
were based on his book or loosely. Some, I think, Man in the High Sky, isn't it, Bishop?
A Man in
High
the High
Castle.
Castle.
Yeah, High Castle, and he wrote a lot of books and a lot of short stories. I won't list them all here, but it's it's quite something. It's quite a
Yeah, you
volume of
also have
work.
that Matt Damon movie with the hats called The
The
Adjustment
Hat.
Bureau.
Oh
Yeah.
God, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
I haven't watched this, so I
Don't
cannot
bother.
tell. Okay.
Oh, it's one of the few Matt Damon movies where there's no need to rescue him. I mean, I think
Yeah,
somebody calculated how much the fictional United States actually spent on rescuing the actor Matt Damon, and it's like really expensive. So,
didn't
Yeah.
even Obama had a jab at Matt Damon for that film, didn't
probably, yeah.
he? Matt Damon criticized one of Obama's policies or his lack of implementation, and he he said it's not as bad as Adjustment Bureau,
Hmm.
which like it's hardly in the same like realm of importance, is it? You know, you've done a shit job at running the country. You've made a bad film. Yeah, I
No.
suppose they're equal.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, on this topic, then Martian is quite a good movie. I haven't read the book, so I cannot speak to the
Yeah, but
quality
it's
of
it's
the
not
book.
from Philip K. Dick for the viewers, just to be sure. But
It's a yeah. We've got onto the
this
Matt
is now
Damon
this is now a Matt Damon stream, right?
the Matt
Okay,
Damon tangent
okay,
stream.
yeah. So you have something to say about the author as well? So we go ahead
I
in the
I I
PowerPoint
I I
presentation.
never met him, so I don't know.
Okay.
He's got a beard, so that gives him a few more points.
Yeah, yeah. I will leave it at this. Yeah, he has kind of that 60 white, but yeah. Okay, about the legacy of his works, or about what we will speak in, especially is androids, or do androids dream of electric sheep? It spawned obviously the film Blade Runner, and it's because it's the year 21, and I think the books place in 21 or 22, something I can't recall exactly. And of course, Hollywood makes about everything renewed. What was good at one point, so it got Blade Runner 2040 if 94, and but as well, though, there are some um, continuations to the book and to the movie, which are bluntly called Blade Runner 2, 3, and 4, The Edge of Human, Replica Knight, and Iron's Talon. But it's not directly written by him, and we already touched a little bit on the all the different movie that got spawned from his work, or he influenced in one point or in another.
I enjoyed the 2049 Blade Runner. I only watched it last week in preparation.
Have
To
you
be honest,
watched both?
I've watched both, yeah.
Okay.
For some reason, the first film always makes me fall asleep. I don't think,
it is quite slow because it's an 80s movie.
yeah. But
And
even so, I've
probably
been
the
watching a
sound
lot.
design as well. But I've seen Blade Runner 2049 before. I've read the book, and now I've read the book. I kind of understand why they made that movie that way, because one of the themes in the book is that they have these animals. So taking care of animals is a big thing, but nobody has. We're talking about kids, but fertility is a big thing. And in Blade Runner 2049, fertility, so that androids can have kids, is one of the big thing.
Yeah.
One of the big themes, and you don't get that from the first movie, because the first movie is mainly about identity and about mortality. So you have these androids which are envious of humans because humans have a long lifespan. Compared to them, they only have 4 years. And then Roy Batty, who's played by Rutger Hauer, goes to meet his creator and asks for more life, and he can't get that, so he kills him. So different themes.
Okay. Have any of you read the continuation works? I guess not.
No.
Okay. And Quick House is absent, so I think we will go ahead. About the main character, Rick Deckard, what can you say about him?
Well, for people who've seen the movie, they see Harrison Ford. In contrast to the movie, Deckard in the book has a wife, and he is somebody in the book. He's really concerned about finding basically an animal to take care of, which is like a live call. So in the beginning, he used to have a sheep, but that died, and then he silently replaced it with an electric sheep, and that gives him a lot of social shame. So he feels ashamed of that, because you should take care of a real animal. So he's really, the reason that he hunts androids is to make money so he can buy another sheep. And in the end, he buys a goat. And this is really like a life-changing thing which will resolve the depression. So he's the kind of guy who will buy stuff in order to feel better.
There's also like a big keeping up with the Joneses thing going on, isn't there? Because his next door neighbor, he's got a horse, which is like a real impressive thing to have a horse, because a horse is a massive animal, and it's, there's a book, isn't there, that they all look at. What's it called? Where all the prices of all the animals are.
There's a catalog that lists all the animals.
Is it the Sydney catalog?
Yeah, I think the Sydney.
Also, which went extinct. So a live spider is a couple of $100, and toads are extinct, for example. Owls are extinct. So you can go and buy a live animal, and there are manuals how to take care of them, and you can buy food. And if you can't afford that, you can buy an electric animal, so like an electric sheep. And there's this company that looks like a animal hospital, but which are actually mechanics who fix stuff. But we'll probably get to them later. But Decker himself is really looking for and basically the big theme is that humans have empathy. and he's really looking for something to take care of, about, to be empathic about. So an animal is this, and the religion Mercerism is also about sharing all these experiences through technology.
Yeah, I guess
So
at this point, Bishop, can you make a small recap about the whole book?
so Decker has had a sheep. It died. He now is an electric sheep, and then he's called into his job. He's a bounty hunter at the police, and he hunts androids. Androids are illegal on Earth, but some of them have escaped from the colonies. This time a total of 8. He gets $1,000 for androids. So if he retires them all or kills them all, then he will have enough money to buy a new pet. While he's doing this, he's invited to the, what's it called? It's not the Tyrell Corporation like in the movie, but it's the
Rosen.
Rosen Institute, and they are there. He meets Rachel, which is an android, which almost passes his test, like in the movie. And he starts to have feelings for her. And then he has to kill an android that looks like her, and then it becomes harder and harder for him to do. With the money that he's made, he's buying a goat. So he bought a goat, but because he's worried more about that than about Rachel, who's an android, Rachel kills the goat because the androids are, I think they're jealous of the fact that humans have empathy and they don't, because they are completely rational. And as a result, they actually think that humans are misguided, that they're actually not empathic, but they're just wrong, and that they will. So they discredit Mercerism and their god, so that they will become atheistic. And in the end, Decker goes into the desert. He finds a toad. He thinks he found God again, and the toad turns out to be not to be real, but to be electrical. And he still goes on being spiritual, despite the fact that the androids have proven that his whole religion and his whole basis to be spiritual and empathic is a lie. But it doesn't matter to humans.
Yeah, and the androids try to out Mercer, don't they?
Yeah.
With a TV show.
Mercer, that religion that you can experience, is basically the same as was it an Iron Man 3, where you had the Mandarin who was played by Ben Kingsley, which was a just an actor performing that role, so it was completely fake.
Yeah,
but they didn't know.
Which is also important. I think his wife is called Iran, something like that. She's depressive, and to change their moods, they go to a mood box, or they dial up what moods they need in the moment to do their purpose, I guess, or to function in the world. Which I think it's in the book, in the movie. It's alluded that Rick might be a android himself.
Yeah, that's something that has become more prevalent in different versions of the movie. So, but so in the book, it's a small theme. He meets another bounty hunter, who is and he wonders whether this is an android. And at some point, he himself doubts for a second. Turns out neither of them are androids. But this is basically the big theme, or one of the bigger themes in the movie. Is he an android himself?
Yeah, where it's in the book that's not really the case, is it?
No, it's just a chapter.
Yeah, it's a little bit played with it, but I don't think. Do you have anything else to say about Descartes?
He's very human.
Meaning,
as in he's very, he's jealous. He's pretty superficial.
He gets angry.
Yeah.
Sometimes he's a lot of emotions. He's doubt. I would almost say that he's not really that rational most of the time when it comes to being a person. When it's about his work and tracking the androids, it's usually they tell him where they are and just has to go and kill them. But,
yeah, and he gets buyer's remorse. It's a bit. He's quite impulsive, isn't he? I mean, when it came to the goat, it was just kind of like a spare of the moment. I'll just give them a call and just see how much they are, and he gets corralled.
he got lucky, and he has enough money for the down payment, and there's no way he can pay the rest of it.
Yeah.
He's also somebody. The way that he describes, what was it, the Zauberflöte from Mozart, which is like he's really passionate about that. The way that he talks about it is also very, very emotional, very impulsive.
Would you describe him as hedonistic?
I would say that he's looking for a goal in his life. He's not looking purely for pleasure. Because if he would do that he wouldn't do his job, because he actually hates doing his job.
Yeah, he tries to quit it at a few points, but he makes quite a good amount of money, $1,000. So I think for the people out there, it's the book was written in the 80s, so 1,000 I guess US dollars will be much more money than it is today.
Obviously, Philip K. Dick wasn't an economist.
Yeah,
it was actually written in the 60s.
Well, then it's in the 60s.
Yes,
let me look up the inflation counter.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's the inflation counter in 2021, isn't it? From the 20s, from the 60s.
We'll do it live. $1,000 from 68, and nowadays is almost $8,000.
Well, that's a good chunk of money, I guess, to kill some Andes. Or
1,000. £1,000 quid for killing what is essentially a superhuman entity. Be it a robot.
Well, I don't get the impression that they're so superhuman in the book. In the movie, they are particularly superhuman.
Yeah, they're very strong, but presumably, well, yeah, I mean, but they are, yeah, but they are robots, aren't they? In the book, essentially, they are mechanical.
Well, they're built out of cells, so that's why they need to do the test in order to differentiate them. There are no wires inside of them, because otherwise you could take an X-ray.
I thought the animals, then they're mechanical, aren't they? Yeah. When he's talking about the cat.
Oh yeah.
Which is probably one of my favorite parts, actually. Right? The whole incident with the cat. We'll probably get to that later on. I presume we'll be talking about that character later, are we?
Yeah. Okay. So nothing about Deckard anymore. So we go to the next one. John Air Isidore. He's a chicken head. So basically, he can't go to Mars because his IQ is below the threshold, so he can't go.
Yeah, basically the various chemicals and just the atmosphere in general is not very conducive to health, and that's mental and physical. So some people experience physical deterioration, and some mental, and some both. And he's experiencing mental deterioration because of his surroundings.
His goal is basically to find companionship. He's really lonely. He lives on the outskirts of town, in an apartment building where he's the only tenant. So he talks about that everything turns to kibble, which is that if you just wait long enough, all your belongings will become trash, and one day he'll be trash as well. So all the apartments are just dilapidated and things like that.
Yeah, he's in on the broken window theory, isn't he? Like kibble collects kibble.
So I think I think it's more kind of he's fighting against entropy. He's alone in the wasteland.
Definitely.
And keeping order, and he's just a single man. So and I think at one point he says everything turns into kibble, and there's enough of kibble, and he's kind of overwhelmed by it. Yeah, but on the other hand, go ahead.
I was just saying, when he mentions, if you have a little bit of kibble in your room, then it'll attract more. Like, kind of like the broken window theory. If you put a little bit of rubbish in the corner of your room, it'll attract more, and eventually that'll be it. Everything will just be kibble.
Yeah. In the book, he's described as a chicken head, so basically, not quite retarded, but not that you won't look up to him for searching solution for mathematical problems. But he's called he has a few Latin phrases he says throughout the book, which kind of indicates that he's well read or at least well educated, which is a little bit contrary to yeah.
Well, in the movie, he's kind of replaced with it's called JF Sebastian, which has the same part when it comes to interacting with the androids. But in the movie, it's actually a smart guy who designed part of the androids, but cannot leave because he's suffering from Methuselah syndrome, which is rapid aging.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he's not. One of his biggest prides, I suppose, in the book is that he's got a job and he's allowed to, work, and he can work, and that's quite a big thing for him, isn't it?
Isn't his job that he works at this electric animal hospital? That he so what they do is if your electric sheep has broken down, then they will come along acting like vets and fix it.
Yeah, in one of the scenes, he's called in to pick up a cat, an electric cat, a robotic cat, and on the way home, it sounds like it's dying, but the program in so when circuits start to fail, it'll trigger a response in the robotic animal as if it's dying, like gasping or whatever, and it's just a sign of the circuits failing. And so he thinks his cat's, he thinks its circuits are failing, and he's prodding around this cat thinking, isn't it realistic? And when he finally gets it back to his work after prodding around with it, turns out it was actually a real cat. But the people who were looking after it didn't know it was a real cat. They were just looking after it as if it was a real cat, but it wasn't a real cat. And it turned out,
yeah.
It's just, one of those funny little moments you get.
And
he
does
have a bottle of wine, right? So he's
really, quite expensive one as well.
Yeah. So so one day Pris shows up, which is a copy of Rachel in the book.
Same model.
Yeah. She's in a different apartment. And he immediately goes like, oh, a girl. And then so he has this bottle of wine, which he's stored, which is valuable. So he goes around to impress her, which completely fails because she doesn't really care. And he basically tries to get on her good side. And even when the other androids arrive, he's willing to help them up to the point that he shows them the spider, which Pris then starts to remove the legs, which is like, okay, if I start removing legs from a spider, when then it stops crawling? When does it stop to be a spider? So she deconstructs the spider as it is, which greatly upsets him. And the way that the androids talk about it, like, yeah, he's just being upset about it. It's not that that he's angry. They only half understand why he's angry about it.
Yeah, they can't understand his empathy for the spider or for anything for that matter. But yeah.
Kind of weird because if you're purely rational, you would maybe don't try to hurt the spider to at least sell it. I reckon.
Yeah,
but they don't even do that.
The androids weren't interested in money. They're interested in basically surviving and probably getting back at humans for the fact that they pretend to have empathy while they also kill androids.
Yeah, I mean, there's also the idea that what's the point in hoarding money or gaining large amounts of money if you can only live 4 years? That's one of the other kind of things that the androids all have to put up with. It's just a limitation of the tech, isn't it?
Yeah. So there's nothing else to say about Isidore or Isidore.
Isidore, yeah.
Okay, next to the next one, Phil Resch. He's a bounty hunter, but he's wholly in a department that is overrun by Andys or androids, and in the book it's not totally clear if he's an android or not, or at least that's how I understood it.
From the test was that it shows that he's not an android, but he's I think he's going insane because he just kills what's her name, Luba Luft, one of the other androids,
Yeah.
without applying the test. And then he warns Decker about the fact that Decker is starting to develop empathy for the androids, which is a
Mm-hmm.
problem. So, but yeah, he's in he's a bounty hunter in the police department, but he's the only human in the police department. All the other members are androids. So he Decker is amazed because he's being arrested while he's investigating Luba Luft, the opera singer. And then a police officer comes and he takes him to the police department. He doesn't know while he's working for the police himself. And then he ends up in this copy of a police department, which the androids use as a cover, which is somewhat insane. And there he meets Phil Resch, the other bounty hunter.
Mm. It reminded me a little bit of 1984 ish. So whatever you say, it's not true, and whatever you believe isn't true as well.
Yeah, it's quite an absurd set of events when he enters that because he ends up with an inspector who turns out to be an android. He has these carbon sheets which contain the specifications and basically the androids he has to retire, and he discovers that this inspector is one of the guys that he has to retire. The androids start playing a game that that Phil Resch himself is also an android. That's also what Luba Luft says when she sees him for the first time. While yeah, this is somewhat of a gray area. After testing him with the void comms test, he's not shown that he is an android, but just a human who is really bad at detecting androids apparently.
Or I think as well low on empathy.
Probably as well, yeah, because he
Yeah.
doesn't hesitate to kill androids. He just shoots them as soon as he detects them. He
Yeah.
doesn't even test them. And maybe because he's low on empathy, he doesn't detect the androids.
Yeah, that's could be true as well.
Yeah, if you were very Spurg or a psychopath or something like that, you might you'd blend in well.
Well, some people act like the androids act, so they don't really feel that other people have feelings. They might have feelings themselves, but other people don't. So he might be in one of those.
Is it the idea that is there an idea in it that people's kind of feelings are getting dumbed down or something? Is that why the mood box is a thing? You know, why do they need a mood box in the future?
It's also probably because it's the planet has gone to shit and everybody's depressed.
Yeah, but when they're dialing in, why you know, like Deckard's wife, you know, she dials in despair. She's like, oh, you know, he comes home and she's been on the old despair. It's like, why would you possibly want that as a setting?
Well, I guess if you're really low, you need something to feel, and whatever you feel, you will cling on it, even if it's not a nice feeling.
I suppose, yeah. I've never been that bad.
Yeah. Well, I think what is also while Phil Resch is an interesting character is because in the book there's almost a dividing line that difference between the androids, or one of the important difference between the androids and the humans, is empathy, and only empathy. And I don't think it's only empathy that distinguish machines between human. It's a big one, but it's not only. It's the only part, I guess.
Yeah, I mean the bit in the book where they are pulling the legs off the spider, it's it makes you. I don't know. It's written. It's written really well. It does make you kind of feel a bit, you know, like it's something that's very wrong, kind of thing. You know, just still these androids hunked around the table torturing something.
Okay. Anything to add about Phil Resch? I guess not.
Moving on.
Rachel Rosen. She's the Nexus 6 Deckard first encountered, and she's really hard to delineate from a human. As the force that Vogue Kampf scale test something. And she also lures Deckard in quite a trap. So Deckard sleeps with Rachel, and she has done this in before, and she's quite a sadistic and moves people on her behalf.
Well, he invites her for the liaison, doesn't he?
Yeah, well, that's true, but she doesn't resist. Let's just say.
Are you pushing the blame onto the woman?
Always.
But they try and because initially he goes to test. Well, he goes to test the new androids with the what's it called, the latest edition, the
Nexus 6.
Nexus 6. He goes to check out the Nexus 6 androids to see if their von Kampf test can actually detect them, and they try and pass her off as a human to say that, test it on a human first. And when she is failing at the test, it takes a lot of questions, way more than they would normally do, but she's failing, and they try and pass it off initially as that she'd suffered some kind of trauma, which has made her a bit psychopathic, I guess, so she doesn't kind of feel empathy as a normal.
And then they try to bribe him with an owl.
Yeah, which they've told him are real at first.
Yeah, and the owl is I think in the book it's also mentioned that the owl died as one of the first animals because of the radiative dust hanging over the world. And owl is obviously sign of wisdom and white purity, I guess. And if the owl being symbolized as wisdom dies as first, it's kind of played on that humanity with World War Terminus killed all its wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and so the owls are really highly valuable because they're the longest extinct.
Well, they're supposed to be extinct, but they've got one.
Yeah, which turns out to
be
fake. To be a fake one. Yeah.
Spoiler alert. But yeah, and then so after trying to excuse her lack of empathy as just like a mental condition because of trauma, he does eventually tease it out of them, I guess.
Yeah, which is played on because she doesn't know she's a robot. It's programmed into you that she isn't, or she thinks she isn't a robot. She thinks she's a human with a false memory.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which kind of that's one of the elements in it that reminded me of Total Recall. The whole idea you end up not knowing what's real and what's not in terms of memories and stuff, and it's like if you feel it is, then what difference does it make?
Yeah. Bishop, do you have anything to say about Rachel Rosen?
That she's very skinny, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
So she's almost described like, I don't know if you guys remember, but in the 60s there was a model called Twiggy. So that kind of reminded me of her, like basically a stick with a dress. So she's described as that. The movie Rachel is much better looking, apparently.
Yeah, and also with what's she called? What's the other female android called? Tish, is it? No,
Pris,
that's it. Yeah, because she's the same model, isn't she? And she's described as, because she's half naked when Isadora, or whatever he's called, first meets her.
Yeah.
And
She also tells that her name is Rachel Rosen the first time they meet until she changes her name.
Yeah.
So.
And she's one of the Andes that hasn't been does not required to be not retarded retired because she's directly owned by the Rosen Association. So she's yeah. Go ahead, Bishop.
Is it actually stated in the book why it's illegal for androids to come to Earth? Because I know it's in the movie they do it because they become mentally unstable after a while and start killing. But I don't think that is mentioned in the book explicitly.
I think it's only just against the law, just like having sex with an android is.
Ah.
But I cannot recall.
Yeah. So somebody got jealous of the sex bots. That's all I'm saying.
Well, you need a market to sell, don't you?
Pleasure models. But then again, they're just as unstable as real women. So why bother?
No, you're generalizing.
Well, I mean, Rachel. I mean, she's she do when she goes. Basically, Dakad sleeps with her, and then she turns into a bit of a bunny boiler and goes and throws his goat off a roof because he sacks her off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Essentially, which is a pretty human thing to do, isn't it?
It's
like,
yeah, it's kind of like Fatal Attraction, where Glenn Close boils the rabbit of
yeah.
Michael Douglas.
Yeah, it's definitely a bunny boiler situation. Like, so, the nut jobs that throw goats off roofs. I mean, I suppose it's not beyond the realms of possibility for a human woman to do that. Although she'd probably be more concerned about throwing the goat off the roof than the man, I suppose.
Now onto the other androids, or how they're often described in the books, are the Andes. You have a bunch of them. Imgrat, Roy, Luba, and Polkov, and Prisa as well, which is also the Rachel model. And I think Imgrat and Roy are together or something. They're husband and or they're married, or do you recall what they were?
I don't know. I know they come together.
Yeah, but are they only a couple or are they married or something? I do not recall.
No, I don't either.
Okay, well with Luba Luft, it's her name and a few other points in the book always strike me because there's a lot of German words, Luft being the German word for air, and there's other instances, for example, Mrs. Klugman on TV, meaning Klugman is basically smart man. Then Rosen is roses, but I think it's a English name or something to that effect. Then the void
roses.
Roses, yeah.
Rose.
Void Kampf, altered scale. Kampf meaning literally to fight. Luba Luft is Luft means air, and as well the magic flute, the Zauberflöte, is Beethoven, I think. Yeah, it's Beethoven.
Mozart, of course.
Mozart, yeah.
Mein Gott in Himmel.
Yeah, well, these 60s writers quite liked classical music, didn't they? Especially the German ones.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's also something about Schwarzkopf in the Magic Fluke. But yeah. And sometimes Luba Luft as well speaks a little bit of German, like "Ach mein Gott."
She acts like that English is not her first language.
Yeah, exactly.
So she kind of fudges the test by saying every time that he asks a question, she's like, I don't understand these words. So that in order to there's no response because there's this language barrier. So I think I use that.
And she pretends not to know what the animals are. because a lot of the questions are based on animals which are extinct or incredibly rare that nobody's people aren't likely to have seen or encountered. So yeah, she tries to get off on that as well, doesn't she?
Yeah. Well, with Lubalov, there's as well. I don't recall how he's called, but he a painter that's I think it's in German it's called Der Schreier. In English it might be The Scream, which is also a few different painting of somebody screaming, which was quite weird. And Deckard and Rich discover her in a exhibition and drag her out. And Rickard pays for her book that Lubeluft wants. Rich don't really understands why Lubeluft as well, and then she gets retired. So yeah.
Mm.
Do you have anything to say on the Andes, especially after you have seen the movie?
Yeah, the obviously the singer has been replaced by a snake charmer woman in the film, hasn't she? Are they basically the same character?
I think it's a stripper, but
Snake.
they're
Snake,
kind of the same character.
Stripper, snake, person. Yeah.
Harrison Ford sneaks into her dressing room saying he's from the Union, looking for peepholes. So when somebody wants to spy on a stripper changing clothes, which is really weird, but he retires her on the spot. Instead of that, there's this whole thing that they go to the fake precinct. Roy Batty is not mentioned that he's a combat model. He is a leader in the book, but he's much more fierce in the movie. And he doesn't have the famous monologue at the end of the book. He basically his death kind of happens like off screen as far as you can do it in the book. He's just Decker comes in and just shoots them, because the androids become quite docile as soon as the bounty hunter is there. They know when their end is near. They actually don't resist, which they mention is a bit weird. While in the movie, Batty basically fights to the death, but in the end he knows that he dies, so he saves Decker. And then he gives one of the Tears in the Rain speech, which is apparently one of the biggest soliloquies in movie history. So the characters are mixed around a bit. Polakov is, I think, he is in the movie. He's the one in the beginning who puts Holden into the hospital, the other bounty hunter.
Yeah.
He's the guy who collects all the pictures, which is an important thing. They're trying to collect memories through random pictures, the androids.
Yeah, because they don't have any.
Yeah, in the book, Polkov is a Russian police officer, which also wants to get informed about the Nexus 6, but he's in reality he's android, and tries to kill Deckard, which fails, and he retires his first Andy of the day. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, because the other thing with when Deckard sleeps with Rachel, one of his biggest worries is that it'll give him kind of too much empathy towards the androids. But then after he sleeps with her, he realizes it's not going to be an issue.
Yeah, it really quickly fades.
It's like, yeah, the sex wasn't that good. I don't know. She obviously was a pleasure model.
Yeah, but it also kind of struck me that the Soviet Union and obviously San Francisco department work together.
That's no surprise, is it? Come on.
Yeah, indicating that there's a world peace or something to that effect, or at least that they are cooperating. Which I suppose it's seen the 60 happening.
No, well, I suppose it's the same with like Clockwork Orange, isn't it? There was obviously an idea in the 60s that the Russians were going to play a much bigger part in the future than they probably will.
Yeah.
You know, if you were to rewrite all these 60s books now, it would probably be Chinese. influences.
Yeah, probably some Chinese androids, or
Yeah,
you
well,
have to call China to do something.
yeah. Although the Russians seem to be making a comeback in fiction, I've noticed.
For example,
I don't know, just films I've been watching recently just seem to have Russians, or well, at the very least, like kind of Eastern European characters.
Mm.
You know, they seem to be a credible baddie again. I guess they got bored of the Arabs. They kind of took over for a while, didn't they? They were the default baddie.
Yeah, the eternal Slav is the problem.
But then you got South Africans as well, white South Africans. They're always quite a good baddie, aren't they? I suppose they sound quite evil to begin with, the accent, or it can do.
Yeah, Bishop, you wanted to say something beforehand?
I already completely forgot. So
Thanks.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Anything else to say about the Andes or androids in the book that we might missed so far?
They kind of remind me of radical atheists who used to be Protestants. We have an opinion, God does not exist. Let me tell you about it.
Okay. Yeah.
It's very anticlimactic as well. I found when he does actually finally get there to kill them, it just, you know, it's like a nothing burger.
Yeah, there's even that trap set up, isn't there? And it doesn't goes off. He just kills them one by one or retires them.
Yeah.
There's no fight or anything.
No. Well, as Bishop was saying, you know, they just give up. It must be in some kind of programming, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, on to the next slide. Buster Friendly, the guy on the TV. The only reason I picked him up and Mercer as well is because there's I think Buster Friendly's an android, isn't there? Isn't he?
Yeah, because he's on TV 24/7, basically.
Yeah, and he smears the religion, as Bishop beforehand said, which is, I guess, kind of true. The androids try to destroy God for that, something to that effect. But yeah, I think it's also describes a little bit the relationship between humans and people as well, because he mocks the idea of God, or I guess if you really want to call it something spiritual. So yeah.
Yeah, and basically people like the chicken head, you know, that's all their entertainment. You know, if they're lucky, they get a TV or a radio, and that's what they spend all their free time doing, like watching Buster Friendly, who is and even Deckard and his wife watch it, don't they? And he's on 24/7, and he's got a few kind of rotating guests. Well, the guests are rotating presumably, but the roster is.
Now I've got them matching them on a platform.
Yeah. There's a roster of guests basically, and he's never off air, but it doesn't kind of point out whether he's live or not.
Do you have anything as well to say on it? Because I just wanted to say Buster Friendly is kind of, even in the book, he's kind of always in the background. Sometimes there's a little conversation from the TV, especially if it goes about killing the androids. It's always snipped in that Buster Friendly's or Buster Friendly and Friends is playing in the background, as well as in the beginning of the book where he's at home with his wife. And I think Buster Friendly is on TV as well, always being there in the background, playing along.
It reminds me of I don't know if you've seen the film Idiocracy.
I have not.
Well, they all watch the same like couple of people all the time, and it just kind of reminded me of that. And in that instance, it's a guy who's constantly being hit in the balls, and that's the pinnacle. The pinnacle of entertainment is watching someone being hit in the testicles over and over again.
So, South
Idiocracy
Park.
is a great movie. I accidentally saw it yesterday.
Accidentally, you just tripped and fell. And
No. I was watching High and Low from Ikara Kurosawa, and then I also had Idiocracy. I said, I'll just put it on, and then like 1.5 days. Okay, that was the movie. Like I just accidentally watched it. Like it's been a while. I didn't realize that the guy who's watching television when he comes out of the pod is actually sitting on a toilet while drinking. And that every time he sits down, he pulls down his pants, and it's you don't see it's just in the corner of the screen, but it's really subtle. I didn't see the first time I saw that movie, but it has electrolytes, right?
Yeah. I gave up with electrolytes. I tried electrolyte supplements for a bit just to see if they made any difference, but no.
But it's what plants crave.
Okay.
Anyhow,
yeah. On this topic, we will go on to Wilbur Mercer and his Mercerism. I couldn't really put my finger onto what it really is, but because they also kind of talk, or at least it must be post-Christian or the Bible, because they at one point mention God, mention Christ, but they don't really mention Christendom in any point. But Wilbur Mercer is, turns out to be at this point dead actor that's that just does the same thing over and over. Yeah.
But then again, when it is outed, it doesn't seem to matter to them.
Yeah.
In the end, it is you can tell a religious person that this religion is fake, that God does not exist. You can even prove it. You can show them all the evidence, but in the end, it's all belief. There's this need in humans to find meaning, even if this meaning is hollow. It's better to take care of an electric toad than not to take care of anything at all. So that's why, because then if you have an electric toad, at least you have to look for electric flies to feed it.
Yeah, but it's like if because you've got the juxtaposition, or whatever you want to call it, with the cat. They're looking after the cat, thinking it's fake, but it's actually not fake. It's real. So if you can look after a fake animal thinking it's real, or looking after a real animal thinking it's fake, then why does it matter either way?
I think it's grasping. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, and then it's the same with the God. If the God's real or not, what does it matter as long as you treat it, when with God, you're not treating it as a thing, are you? But you're treating it as something. And does it really matter whether it's real or not? I suppose that's what certain elements of the population try and do. They try and justify. Even religious people try and justify religion by saying, "Oh, well, actually, there's archaeological evidence for the ark," or something like that. And it's like, well, you shouldn't. If you try and pass it off in terms of things that are real, then eventually you're going to trip up because you're not going to be able to prove it. Whereas it shouldn't really matter whether it's real or not. That's why it's called faith, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's a grasp for meaning that those people in the world of the book have to believe in anything, or at least a human do, and the androids do not understand those impulses, not at all, which is probably the reason why Bossa Friendly smears the mercenarism, saying it's all fake, but the people, as you said, believe in it still, just on blind faith.
Yeah, because if they tried to pass it off as rational, then it wouldn't work. But as long as you leave rationality out of it, it still works.
Yeah. Okay, on to the next slide. So the central question of the book: what do you think? Do androids dream of electric sheep when they sleep? Yes or no?
I think they do not. because they you dream about what you desire, and they don't desire neither real animals nor fake animals. They're not really interested in them.
I think
I mean,
it's even. Yeah, go ahead, Quickhouse.
I was going to say probably not. No, I mean, if it's very difficult to tell a psychopath from an android because of the lack of empathy, then apparently psychopaths don't dream for some reason. Don't know whether that's true or not, but yeah. So I'm going to say no.
They probably dream because my cat dreams.
Is your cat psycho?
Oh, definitely.
Well, cats.
3 days without accidents.
Yeah, my wife used to have a cat that used to just bite you for no reason. Is that a cat or a football?
That's a cat. She's oogling me.
Yeah.
Look very spherical.
Yeah, but I think in the book there's never mentioned that the androids sleep.
So I didn't mean to fat shame your cat. So.
You bigot. That's hate speech.
Yeah. We have to protect the cats. You cannot shame them. Yeah.
No, but I think it's not even stated that they dream nor sleep. That's true.
Yeah.
I guess they do if they have somewhat biological brains. They need to sleep for maintenance, but
Mm-hmm.
um,
Yeah, it's not mentioned, so we cannot.
but yeah, if you mean dreams as in what's your desire, then they don't desire any animals. They because they torture the spiders, so they would also dissect an electric sheep just for fun and curiosity. They feel like the what do you call it, postmodernists who feel the need to deconstruct everything to understand everything, and at the end they have nothing because they've taken everything apart, so all the magic is gone. While the humans feel like traditionalists, they are looking for something which used to exist but no longer exists, and they regret that. So actually, for me, this you could say it's a science fiction book because it is in the future and it has flying cars and androids and laser tubes. But on the other hand, you could also just put this in the 18th century and have it between some people who are really religious and people who are really scientific, and have it clash like that. And then it is a book which deals with parts of the human psyche and parts of different kind of personalities, and they distill this into a archetype which here is the android, but they are basically the super rationalists. So if there's no paper for it that shows this effect, it does not exist. While the humans are really the ones that go for, yeah, we basically want to have a farm and live the traditional life, but we can't because of the war.
I suppose you could have you could have had a different version called The Socialist Dream of Big Houses.
The socialist dream of full fridges.
Or fridges. Just period. Just a hot box.
What do you complain? You have stale bread. It's not good.
Yeah.
It's the same bread as everybody else.
Yeah. And now go back to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when I envisaged the title, I'd never really thought about it like that. Like I'd always figured it as an actual dream, but as not as as opposed to something you're aspiring to. Like, do androids aspire to own electric sheep?
They don't.
No.
They don't even.
And on some other level, it also felt that all the animals were like replacement for kids, like how a lot of the cat lady archetype, where she is it an archetype? Well, stereotype, maybe that's a better word. But basically that somebody's taking on a lot of pets to replace the fact that they don't have kids. And I got the same vibe from Decker and his wife. They are missing something in their life, so they either she uses the mood organs to kind of fill it up. He doesn't use the mood organ that much. He doesn't go to Mercer, but he's looking for an animal to take care of, and he's quite envious that other people have this. So
and then what's the other machine? The one that they can share feelings with?
Empathy box.
The empathy box. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
which is the second
So
thing. But
one
I
of
don't
them
think we.
creates moods, and the other one you can exchange them with other people. So if you feel really happy, then you can share it with everybody else. It's a bit like taking a selfie or posting on Facebook. Look how happy I am, and then everybody can click like,
Yeah,
and
Yeah.
you get addicted to that.
but it's
Although at least in this instance, like the person would actually get some happiness,
yeah,
whereas it probably has the opposite effect. Seeing someone, just bought a nice new car or something, or he's on a nice holiday, rather than feeling happiness for that person, you might feel sadness that you're not getting it.
Yeah, but
or envy.
you see Decker,
Yeah.
who's trying to create happiness by buying stuff, which he
Mm-hmm.
gets by making other people miserable by terminating their existence. So
Yeah.
he's not creating happiness by helping people. Actually, he's creating happiness by making other people miserable. So that's probably
Yeah.
also something that gnaws him, and because he basically wants to get another job, because he's what if he retires a real person?
The thing
What if
is,
that
the
person he's trying to retire starts to feel like a real person? That those are big themes.
but if the androids can't feel empathy for a creature, why? And they do actually give up when a bounty hunter comes for them. Like what what are you actually taking away?
Yeah,
I know you're taking away the life, but then they don't care about it because
but I think
they don't try and prevent you from killing them, and they don't
but
care
it's
about
only
other
the
lives.
Nexus 6s in the end of the book. He mentioned in one part of the book that they sometimes get really frantical and tried everything to survive.
Mm.
I think it's still, I think, mm, sorry, in every animal, and if you want to classify as androids, even there must be a self-preservation modus at one point
But
or
it's
another, or they won't survive.
but why is I mean that could just literally be a line of code that in the event of near death do X rather than worry about the reason why you'd stop the reason why you would presumably not want to be killed is because you're thinking of all the stuff that you're going to miss out on if you die, as opposed to just a line of code that just says don't let yourself die.
Well, even if that's true, then that impulse comes from some genetic trait that does that.
Mm.
You have this you have this innate sense of self-preservation, which is also present in every animal. I don't think it's that rational actually, but that cognitive. It's it's basically self-harm is actually really hard. Just try to inject yourself with something that takes effort.
Yeah, or even purposefully electrocuting yourself with one of those stupid games, those drinking game things. Or
Why are you doing stuff like that?
There's a
I
time and a
don't
place
drink,
for
but
everything, and it's called university.
Okay.
I've never drank, but I've still played those games. So go figure.
Yeah.
I
But
have
like,
no recollection of that fact, Your Honor.
Okay.
I had this cool little remote controlled tank game, and you drive the tanks around, and you'd have to shoot each other. And if one tank shot another with like a laser beam or whatever, then you got an electric shock through the controller. But it could quite frequently just randomly electrocute you anyway.
Oof.
And my 2-year-old nephew got hold of it thinking it'd be great fun until it electrocuted him randomly, and he threw it on the floor and cried for about an hour. It's great fun.
Okay. So in summary, at least this panel thinks the question
Next.
Mm.
to the answer that the book asks is no. They do not dream, so they cannot dream of electric sheep.
I've asked the answer for answer, and he says no.
Yeah.
Well, this fits into this thing with news articles, that if a news article is posed in the form of a question, the answer is usually no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Is the Guatemalan economy about to collapse under the weight of the coffee exports? No. Okay.
Okay. Next. On to the next slide. Yeah, it was quite popular, and the critics or responses were something akin to what we discussed now. Question between interaction of machines and humans, and what is the the dividing line between humans and machines, and sometimes other stuff. But I guess, yeah. Well, on this point, did you like the book, Quackhouse?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, 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 definitely.
Bishop?
Yeah, it's different from the movie. The movie has its merits that it's very stylish, and because it basically defined the cyberpunk genre, and mixed it with a what do you call it, a noir detective story. But yeah, the book itself is delves much more into what it is to be human, compared to what it is to be a machine. What would a machine in human form look like? Well, yeah, it would just be very rational, and it would not understand what it makes to be human. And I kind of have this adding a religion to that also has like a subtext to like, yeah, can humans live without religion? So yeah, it
Yeah,
poses a lot of questions actually.
yeah, it's quite layered, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
And
a
then
good. Yeah, go ahead, Quackhouse.
no, yeah, carry on. Sorry.
Well, on my point, it's a good book. It's much shorter than Moby Dick, so I quite enjoyed it. I could read it in an afternoon and a little bit more. So yes, quite good.
Yeah, you could read it 4 times over at least.
Well, it took forever to ship to me, so no. Okay. Well, on to the next book. It will be the Legend of the Sleepy Hollow, and we'll read it 2 weeks from now. And yes, if you have nothing else, we will go with the closing remarks. Bishop, what else do you have to say, or we might missed?
Go read this book. It's a good book.
Yeah, I concur.
Okay, thank you very much.
And no, they don't. So carry on.
Yeah, but okay, Quackhouse, what might we have missed about this book, or your closing remarks?
Yeah, no. I think we've got most of it. Yeah, nice multi-layered book with good science fiction theme, and yeah, go for it.
Yeah. As I said, the next book will be The Legend of the Sleepy Hollow, and it will be on the 24th October. So see you until then, and have a nice evening or morning or whenever you're watching. Okay, goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.